When I look back now, I think the worst part wasn't her betrayal. It was realizing how ordinary the day began. There was no thunderstorm, no sign from heaven, nothing cinematic about it, just a Thursday morning. She was humming while frying eggs, wearing one of my shirts, barefoot, looking like home. I remember thinking how lucky I was. I kissed her neck on my way out and said, "See you tonight." She smiled. And that was it, the last moment of peace I ever had. For years, I had built my life around her. Everything from the color of our walls to the rhythm of my days revolved around her presence. We met in college in a photography club. I was quiet, she was sunshine. She noticed me before I noticed her, and somehow she made me feel like I was worth noticing. I remember her handwriting on the back of our first photo together. "Here to forever." I believed it. We married young. We didn't have much, but we had enough. A rented apartment with creaky floors, long walks, cheap dinners, shared dreams. We talked about everything back then, fears, goals, silly secrets. There was trust, and trust is a dangerous thing. It makes you blind in all the wrong ways. The first cracks came so quietly I almost ignored them. She started dressing differently for work, more perfume, more makeup. At first, I thought she was just evolving, embracing confidence. Then came the late nights, the team projects, the exhaustion. When I'd ask, she'd laugh it off, "Babe, it's just work. Don't be paranoid." But paranoia is patient. It waits, it collects details, and then it strikes. One night, she fell asleep on the couch, phone in hand. It buzzed once, twice. I looked at it, then looked at her, peaceful, unguarded, the woman I thought I knew. Curiosity felt like betrayal, but something inside me whispered, "Check it." I wish I hadn't. The messages were right there, not hidden, not coded, just there. Words she used to say to me, now offered to another man. Photos, emojis, confessions. My wife, the woman who once cried because she couldn't imagine losing me, was telling someone else that she couldn't wait to see him again. And it wasn't just one man. There were others. I felt my pulse in my throat, my ears ringing, the world spinning. I sat in that silence for hours, scrolling through proof after proof, each message slicing deeper. I didn't wake her. I couldn't. I just stared at her face, peaceful, innocent, and wondered who she was now. The next morning, I went to work pretending to be fine. I smiled at people, answered calls, sat through meetings. But every sound felt distant, every thought blurred. My marriage, the foundation of my life, had crumbled overnight, and no one around me could tell. That night when she kissed me hello, I wanted to push her away. But I didn't. Instead, I told her I loved her. I wanted to see if I could still say it without shaking. My voice cracked. She didn't notice. For weeks, I lived a double life, the faithful husband on the outside, the silent investigator on the inside. I learned names, schedules, details. I became obsessed, scrolling through call logs, bank statements, memories. The more I found, the less I recognized the person I used to be. And then came the moment, that breaking point where love turns into something darker. One night, I stared at myself in the mirror and whispered, "She doesn't deserve peace." The idea of revenge didn't come from hatred. It came from grief. From wanting to make her feel something close to what I felt, that cold, hollow ache that never stops gnawing. I remembered stories she'd told me about her coworkers, their names, their gossip, the way she laughed about office rumors. I realized how easy it would be to turn that same rumor mill against her. That night, when she was asleep, I sat on the edge of our bed with her work phone number on my screen. My hands were shaking. I used a voice changer app, just enough distortion to sound unfamiliar, and I said the words that would shatter her world. "This is a warning. Your employee, her name, has been spreading disease in your office. She gave me AIDS. You all need to get tested." Then I hung up. It took less than a day for everything to explode. She came home pale, trembling, her phone buzzing nonstop. "They're saying awful things about me," she cried. "Someone called my job and said I have AIDS. Everyone's looking at me like I'm dirty. I don't know who'd do something like that." I sat there, pretending to be shocked, pretending to comfort her. Inside, I felt satisfaction. A sick, fleeting satisfaction that felt like justice. I told myself she deserved it, that this was balance. But balance is an illusion. The rumor spread faster than wildfire. Her boss questioned her. Friends at work distanced themselves. Even her close colleagues stopped sitting near her. She broke down crying every night, saying she didn't understand how her life had fallen apart. And I, the man she once trusted with her soul, was the one holding her while she fell apart. A month later, she quit her job. Depression swallowed her whole. She barely spoke, barely ate. She stopped wearing makeup, stopped looking in mirrors. Sometimes I'd catch her staring out the window for hours, tears sliding down her face silently. I remember one night she whispered, "Did I do something to deserve this? Is the universe punishing me?" I almost told her then, almost confessed everything. But my pride, that ugly, fragile pride, wouldn't let me. I told her everything would be okay, that people forget, that we could start over. But I knew we couldn't. When I handed her the divorce papers 3 months later, she didn't even argue. She just asked, "Why?" And I lied again. I told her I wasn't in love anymore. She cried softly as she signed. That was the last time I saw her face up close. The woman who had once lit up my world was gone, replaced by a ghost wearing her skin. Years have passed since then. She lives alone now. Mutual friends say she's gained weight, that she hardly leaves the house. They say she's still haunted by that rumor, that it ruined her career. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if she ever thinks about me, about the man who once promised to protect her and instead destroyed her. There are nights when I wake up sweating, heart pounding, hearing her voice in my dreams, asking me why. The irony is, I thought revenge would make me feel powerful. It didn't. It made me smaller. It's strange how guilt creeps in slowly. At first, I justified everything, told myself she deserved it, that betrayal needed consequences. But over time, those excuses started to rot. I began to see the version of her that wasn't a cheater, the version that had loved me once, before everything fell apart. The woman who stayed up with me during my father's illness. The woman who once whispered prayers over my sleeping body. The woman who believed in me when I didn't. And I broke all of that. Sometimes I replay that night in my head, the phone call, the trembling voice, the way I smiled afterward. It doesn't bring satisfaction anymore, just shame. The truth is, she didn't destroy me. I destroyed myself trying to hurt her. Love and hate are twins, born from the same seed, fed by the same intensity. When one dies, the other survives only to poison you. Now, years later, I've rebuilt parts of my life. I have a good job, a quiet home. But every now and then, when I see a woman with her smile, my chest tightens. I wonder what could have happened if I just walked away instead of burning everything to ash. Maybe forgiveness would have saved us both. Maybe silence would have been kinder. But I chose vengeance, and vengeance doesn't end when the other person breaks. It ends when you realize you've become everything you once hated. Sometimes I sit in the dark, staring at the phone, tempted to call her, to tell her the truth, to apologize, to set her free from a ghost she never saw coming. But then I remember that some confessions don't heal. They only reopen wounds. So I stay silent. And that silence, I think, is the real punishment. Because now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see the victim anymore. I see the villain. And I'm still paying for it.